Welcome back. You're watching this special edition of Newsroom in which we are talking about the landmark resolution that has been passed by the United Nations to counter Islamophobia, resolution that was passed by Pakistan representing the OIC countries. Now, this is a very important resolution, and all we want and we hope that this resolution takes a new precedent as far as the misinterpretation of Islam, the misinterpretation of the Muslim community across the world is concerned. It is this misinterpretation that has given rise to different forms of Islamophobia, whether it be structural, individual or dialect, form of through hate speech and others. It is also one that has segregated races and religions, something that Islam as a religion has never gone towards. Islam wants all religions to be together as one in peace and in brotherhood. Islam is one religion that has also talked about interfaith harmony, of interfaith dialogue, and our Prophet Hazrat Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam's life is just an example of the way we as Muslims need to propagate Islam as a religion. Now, to discuss more about Islamophobia, this resolution that has been passed, and also the upcoming OIC Foreign Ministers meeting that is going to happen on the 22nd and the 23rd of March, where delegates from different Muslim countries are going to attend it. Also, delegates from different other organizations and countries will also be attending this moot. How important is the fact to talk about this UN resolution on Islamophobia, to also make the world understand that Islamophobia is something that needs to be done away with in the earliest possible, because the ramifications, as we have already seen since 9/11, have been humongous. In the studios, we continue to be joined by Najma Minhas. She's the editor, Global Village Space. Najma, thank you to have stayed with us for a little bit more. Online, we've been joined by Brigadier retired Haris Nawaz Saab. He's a political analyst. Brigadier Saab, thank you very much to have joined us as well. I'll begin with you, Brigadier Saab. Brigadier Saab, when we see the different ramifications from the West as far as Islamophobia is concerned, and we've talked about the structural form of Islamophobia, we've not talked about the different hate groups that have emanated, and the results of the incursions of the West into Iraq, Afghanistan, and how that has impacted the overall view of the Muslims, how that has also impacted the overall view of the West as far as the Muslim community is concerned. How can we remedy that?
First of all, Omar, I would like to congratulate Prime Minister of Pakistan, then Islamic countries. They, of course, tabled the bill and then it will pass. And that's a big success, and it will have a lot of ramifications. Now, coming to your question, the most important thing is the basic reason is deprivation. When you go and kill millions of people, Muslims in Iraq, you have killed millions of Muslims in, I would say, Libya, then Syria, then what happened in Afghanistan, what is happening in Kashmir, all over the world, Muslims are being treated like a second religion. So that is the basic reason. And then it is further how the West and the enemy of Islam have exploited and the brainwashed certain people. They created the group within a Muslim community, very small group, I would say less than a 1%, whose brain were washed. Then, of course, they resorted to all these things. They both got suicide bombers, then they were terrorism, all those things. So I would say we have failed as Muslims, as Muslim countries, Islamic countries, OIC, to tell the world what is Islam, how much it is peaceful, what are the teachings of Prophet, peace be upon him, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what he has been teaching, and how much Islam is particular about killing of a man. They say killing of a one person means killing of whole humanity. Now these are the teachings which I think we could not spread all over the world, and by design, because they feel a bit threatened that Muslim population is increasing, Muslims should not become more powerful, or more wealthy countries like Middle Easterns, they were controlled by certain people, and then they could not do it. So I think what I personally feel now is the right time, when on 22nd OIC foreign minister coming to Pakistan in Islamabad, that is the time we must have collective wisdom and decide at least have one Islam channel, a news channel, where we tell and we tell what is the peaceful Islam, what do we teach, And what do we expect from others? Have we ever interfered in any of the religion like Christianity, Hindus, Sikhs, or any person belonging to any religion? Because we believe in freedom of religion, freedom of speech, but freedom of speech, freedom of expression in the right direction. To talk good and positive. I have no right to criticize any religion. Likewise, I expect nobody should have any right to criticize my religion. So I think that is what is a differentiate. That is a reason why extremism come, and that was created. What is Daesh? ISIS, who created, and how they're tarnishing the image of Islam. So these are the things, and these are by designs. So we have to defeat this narrative which has been created.
All right. Also, sir, my second and my last question to you, Haris Nawaz Saab, concerns the very fact how the West is interpreting this whole concept of Islam, the whole concept of the way Muslims live, and they are trying to change it, to modify it, whether it shows in the way the hijab ban has been applied in Karnataka recently, whether it shows in the way the West is quite skeptical about women who wear hijab, of men who grow beards, of even Sikhs who wear turbans. Do you feel some kind of an understanding can come about in different religions, in different societies, in different nations? And do you feel that resolutions like the one that has recently passed by the United Nations can pave the way for that?
Absolutely. You see, the most important thing is we must have interfaith harmony. I would be very happy that at least United Nations level or at world level, there all religions scholars they get together, whether belonging to Sikh community, Hindu, Muslim, Christians, or any other religion. They have a big seminar. In that, everybody highlights the positives and the negative effects coming to that religion. And then all should work out, and then they go back to their countries and then try to create a religious harmony. And that's very, very important because it's a lack of knowledge. How can you interfere and tell a girl using a scarf or a hijab she should not do it? She has a freedom, and that's his
All right.
religion, her parents, his community, they allow him. So I
All
think
right, Brigadier
these
Haris Nawaz Saab, political analyst, thank you very much to have joined us and to have talked to us about Islamophobia and what needs to be done. We need to go to a short break, and before we go to a short break, we'd also like to thank our guests in the studios who we've managed to take for quite some time. There's Minhas Saiba, editor, Global Village Space. We hope to see more of you in the coming days and talk more about different aspects of international relations with you. Thank you very much to have joined us. We need to go to a short break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. You're watching this special edition of Newsroom in which we are talking about the resolution that has recently been passed by the United Nations to tackle Islamophobia, a resolution that was put forward by Pakistan. Now, this is not only a landmark decision or resolution passed by the United Nations, but also boards the way as far as finding a solution to this scourge that is engulfing the entire world, especially the West. To talk more about this, the impact of the resolution, other resolutions that have been passed by the United Nations, how to apply them in different sectors of the society across the world, in the West and in other parts of the world. We've been joined by Munir Akram Saab. He's the Pakistan's permanent representative to the United Nations. Munir Saab, thank you very much to have joined us, sir. Sir, first of all, congratulations on the passage of the resolution on Islamophobia. How much of a success do you feel it is of Pakistan as it is of the Muslim world?
Well, I think you have mentioned it's a landmark resolution. It was first proposed by the Prime Minister in his address to the General Assembly in 2019 that the United Nations must take action to counter Islamophobia. It has been an uphill struggle to convince the world that is this phenomena, Islamophobia, which is rising, which has been rising for the last 20 years, in the form of discrimination, and violence against Muslims, and uh, attack against the very religion of Islam. Uh, so it was a long diplomatic struggle by Pakistan to try and convince the international community. We did so patiently over the last 2 years, and after the adoption of a resolution last year by the foreign ministers of the Islamic countries, we were then able to take this campaign to the international community. Uh, I think uh, through very patient and adroit diplomacy, I think we've been able to get this resolution recognizing the to counter Islamophobia and have it adopted by consensus in the General Assembly, which is important uh, for the future.
All right. Munir Akram Saab, you said at this, of course, at the United Nations, and I quote what you said. You said Islamophobia is a reality and that the phenomenon was growing and one needed to address it. Islamophobia is a reality. Why are certain countries not accepting it as one?
Well, I think several countries feel on the defensive because it is, in the media in some of these countries, there are groups, far-right extremist groups in certain Western countries, which are Islamophobic, and they make no bones about it. There are officials in the Western world who have spoken up against Muslims. They would not allow Muslim immigrants, but they are welcoming Ukrainian immigrants. But in particular, the worst manifestation of Islamophobia is next door in our neighbor India, where 200 million Muslims are under the threat of genocide. So this is a spreading phenomena. The Indian extremists, the Hindutva extremists have been encouraged by this trend of discrimination against Islam and Muslims in the Western world. They have reinforced each other, and therefore we see the resistance from some of them. The principal countries which expressed reservations on our resolution was one, India, and two, France.
All right, Munir Akram Saab, when we talk of India, when you talk of France, I mean, in France there was a whole controversy around Charlie Hebdo. In India, we see constantly different kinds of vigilantes going against Muslims and Muslim interests. It seems as if Islam is trying to be suppressed one way or the other, or the Muslims are trying to be marginalized, and India has achieved a lot in that regard. Why, in your point of view, sir, at the United Nations or at other fora, has nothing happened tangibly as far as putting some kind of pressure on India is concerned?
Well, I believe that there is considerable pressure on India. Even though their friends, their Western friends, do not speak loudly because of their strategic relationship, they are certainly expressing concern to the Indians about what is happening. The media is full of articles about the danger of genocide in India against the Muslims, as well as the Christians, by the way. So there is concern about what's happening in India, and even their friends believe that what Modi is doing is going to hurt India and divide India.
All right. Munir Akram Saab, I'd come back to something that you said at the United Nations General Assembly session. And you said rise in hate crimes against Muslims, both offline and online, as well as discrimination in education, citizenship, immigration, employment, housing and healthcare sectors, among others, are well documented. If these are indeed well documented, sir, then what needs to be done in order for such issues that are documented to not further be repeated in the future?
Well, this is precisely the objective of the efforts we've been making, which have now been recognized in the Countering Islamophobia resolution. this is an acknowledgement by the international community that there is the problem of Islamophobia in various parts of the world. This is the first and very important step that has been taken by the international community. Further steps, of course, are up to us and to the Islamic countries of how we project the problems that Muslims are facing in various parts of the world and what we can do to help them and what we can get the international community to do to end these practices. And that's going to be the effort. And that's the campaign that we will launch. As the Prime Minister has said, we have got this milestone resolution. Now will come the period of trying to implement the objectives of this resolution.
Of the resolution, sir, I again like to quote you when you talked about the objectives that the draft resolution served to achieve. That included raising international awareness about the growing phenomenon of Islamophobia, anti-Muslim hatred, send a clear message to the world that opposes all form of racism, racial discrimination, xenophobia, promote the message of tolerance, peaceful coexistence, and interfaith and cultural harmony, and demonstrate by commemorating on this day unfettered solidarity with all humanity and for the respect of human dignity. How much is all of this achievable? Do you feel this is a long-term effort by different countries, including Pakistan?
Yes, Islamophobia has grown over the last, I would say, 30 years or even more. And especially after the 9/11 terrorist attacks, there has been this tendency of discrimination against Muslims, viewing Muslims with suspicion. They have been targeted in this whole anti-terrorism campaign. The only groups which are on the terrorism lists are Muslims. So I think the objectives we have, these will have to be achieved in a progressive way, in a concerted and coordinated manner by the Islamic countries. And of course, Pakistan will be in the lead in these efforts. But it's not a short campaign. We have a 30-year trend, which will take us time to reverse that trend. But the first step is to acknowledge the problem, which has now been acknowledged by the world. And then we have to address the problem both at the national level, through the United Nations, through the Islamic Conference, to raise awareness, to change policies, to make discrimination against Muslims a criminal offense in many countries, to make insults against Islam also criminalized and outlawed in various national legislations. This is going to be a long campaign. I do not pretend that it'll be easy, but we have to change the trend, to make people aware that this is racism in another form, and that we have to change that in the same way that we have combated racism, we have combated slavery, we have combated various other forms of discrimination. Therefore, this is a new form of racism which must be combated by all countries at all levels, at the national, at the community level, at the international level, and at the multilateral level.
Munir Akram Saab, it's such a hearty way of changing the whole perspective of the world as far as the Muslim as a community and Islam as a religion is concerned. Whether on one hand we have the willingness by the Islamic countries, including Pakistan, that is on the forefront of this measure, do you feel that there is a willingness in the non-Islamic bloc as well for this change to happen? And if so, how can the Muslim world, including Pakistan, help the West achieve that willingness?
Well, I think one of the positive lessons from this exercise of getting this resolution through was that there is acknowledgement. Everyone that we were negotiating with acknowledged that Islamophobia is a reality. And I think some of the countries adopted fairly positive positions. China, Russia, even the United States, and a number of European countries were positive. There are, of course, a few European countries where there is a problem. There's a problem of anti-Islamism, we know who they are, and that's where the resistance came from. But I am positively surprised at the level of acceptance that Islamophobia is a problem and should be addressed. And the major problem is in a few European countries, and of course in India. That's the major challenge.
Comes to the West as far as understanding what Islamophobia is and taking the appropriate measures, whether it be Justin Trudeau putting a special representative to counter Islamophobia, whether it be Vladimir Putin, who has acknowledged our Prime Minister's stance on Islamophobia and has said that there is a level to which freedom of expression should go and there should be a limit to that. Countering that with the media bias that comes towards the religion that is Islam and the community that is the Muslim community, how do you balance both these sides in such a manner so as to bring a proper understanding of our religion and our community to the world, for especially those who do not understand it or do not want to understand it?
Well, obviously, I think the fact that now that Islamophobia is recognized as a challenge by the international community, it will provide legitimacy to all efforts that Muslims at various levels will make and are making at the community level, at the national level in various countries, and at the international level. It will provide legitimacy to our efforts, the efforts of all Muslims in various countries, and to our international and diplomatic efforts at the national and international level. It will provide that legitimacy of efforts which was unacknowledged previously, because people would say, what is Islamophobia? This is not real. You are just making this up. This is a concoction. But now that it has been recognized by the highest forum in the world as a reality, that has to be countered, I think it will provide legitimacy to all our efforts. Now it's, of course, up to Islamic countries, for our Muslim communities in various non-Muslim countries to step up and to project the problems that they have and to seek redress for them. And of course, the redress at the national level will be different for different communities in different countries. But we in the Islamic world, we are cooperating. Many Islamic countries joined us and are actively involved in this campaign. It's heartening. We had Saudi Arabia, Iran, and others join in together. Turkey very actively supported us. So I think there is unity in the Islamic world on this issue, and that is, I think, something that should add to the cohesion of the Islamic countries and add to the morale of Muslims all over the world to be able to work for the recognition of their rights and the protection of their fundamental rights in various countries.
It's a very important point that you raised, the cohesion of the Islamic countries, of the Islamic bloc, in order to put forward all those issues that have been plaguing the Islamic community in the Islamic countries, whether it be in Islamic countries or the non-Islamic countries. And for that matter, the OIC is one of the best platforms, if not the best. How important has been Pakistan's contribution as far as Islamophobia and raising this at the OIC? I know in Makkah, in the 14th session of the OIC in June 2019, our Prime Minister also talked about Islamophobia, and he has been talking about it ever since, whether it be at the OIC level, whether it be in Malaysia, whether it be at the United Nations on 2 different occasions while addressing the UNGA. Do you feel the OIC is the right platform to make the world understand Islam and the Muslim community so that a proper interfaith harmony or interfaith dialogue could move at the right pace?
Well, the OIC, of course, is the natural forum where the phenomena of Islamophobia should be countered, because it is a problem for all Muslim countries, for all Muslim people. So the OIC is the natural place and natural home where we should promote this campaign against Islamophobia. But now that the challenge, that the issue has been recognized at the international level, there are also all international organizations are open to us to raise the issue as well. The United Nations, of course, there is an organization called the Alliance of Civilizations, whose president issued a very positive statement after the adoption of this resolution, supporting us in promoting this campaign against Islamophobia and promoting harmony among cultures. So the OIC has to be the core, but the OIC's efforts can be at various levels in various organizations and in the international community as such. We have many options, and we should avail of all options to advance the campaign against Islamophobia.
About Islamophobia, Munir Akram Saab, a lot of important events in the past have also led to the West having a certain perception about Islam and Muslims, whether it be what happened in Iraq, what happened in the Middle East, then what happened in Afghanistan. Don't you feel that has more or less contributed towards the West's point of view as far as how Muslims live, what they think, what Islam as a religion stands for? And if that is the case, sir, do you feel that fora such as the OIC or the United Nations could help dispel such illusions that certain countries, especially in the West, have about our religion and our community?
Well, at one level, of course, the sort of fear of Islam has existed in the Western world for centuries. And the misperceptions about Islam have also existed for centuries. It was accelerated exponentially after the 9/11 terrorist attacks, because it provided a vehicle, a weapon to those who are already prejudiced against Islam to be able to justify their prejudice, to justify the discrimination and the hatred and violence that have accelerated against Muslims. So that was a tipping point in the campaign. But there has always been this underlying fear of Islam, and we have to counter it. We will, of course, first need to reverse what has happened in the last 20 years since 9/11 and this equation of Muslims with terrorism and so on and so forth. We have to reverse that perception. Secondly, we have to attack wherever Muslims are being discriminated or where violence is being committed against them. We have to attack those phenomena and reverse those phenomena. And of course, at the third level, there is the kind of conceptual or philosophical and intellectual bias against Islam, which will have to be countered. But that's going to be a longer campaign.
Back to OIC, I'd like your opinion as far as Pakistan's role in the OIC and also the recent OIC moot of the foreign ministers that was held in December 19th last year, and the one that is going to happen right now on the 22nd and the 23rd of March. How important are these two moots, or has the moot been in December, and how important will it be, the one that is going to happen on the 22nd and the 23rd of this month, as far as the Muslim world understanding each other's perspective on issues such as Islamophobia and also moving together as one in order to fight against all these menaces that placate that, of course, that the Muslim world is currently embroiled in?
Yes, well, the December meeting that was held in Islamabad was dedicated to the humanitarian situation in Afghanistan. So I think it had a very focused agenda. The meeting, which will be held next week in Islamabad on the occasion of Pakistan's 75th anniversary, has, of course, the full broad agenda of the Islamic Conference of Foreign Ministers. And they will obviously deal with all issues, especially Kashmir, Palestine, and other standing problems and issues that are facing the Muslim world, including Islamophobia. So we look forward to decisions from this conference, which would be action-oriented, which will enhance the unity of the Muslim world and try to address the problems both on the political, security, economic, and social fields that Muslims and the Islamic countries face all over the world.
All right. And finally, Munir Akram Sahab, I've taken a lot of your time and thank you so very much to have been so patient with us today. But your point of view is extremely important and pertinent in the current context of the UN resolution that you were present to. And of course, it must have been a proud moment for you. When you look at what the scourge of Islamophobia has led to, whether it be in India in the form of negative profiling, mob lynching by car vigilantes, discriminatory laws across the world, attacks on women wearing hijabs, ban on minarets not only here but also in Europe, attempts to link and equate Islam with terrorism. Do you feel that the future is bright as far as the West's understanding of all these and a perception that might become more positive about what Islam and the Muslim community stands for? And also, do you feel that the OIC and the United Nations could in the future work together in that respect?
Well, first of all, I do feel that the prospects are much better to counter Islamophobia because we have finally stood up. Before Prime Minister Imran Khan spoke in the General Assembly in September 2019, this issue had not been raised at the international level by any Muslim leader. So it was raised, and he proposed international action against this, and then we mobilized all our Islamic brothers, active support from Turkey, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and others. So I think until you stand up for your rights, you will not get them. And we Prime Minister Imran Khan has stood up for the rights of Muslims, and we have got the recognition now from the international community about this phenomena of Islamophobia and discrimination against Muslims. So this is a good start. We will have to keep up the campaign. We will have to do this in cooperation with the Islamic countries because they are natural allies and they share the same perspectives and problems. So inshallah, we will be able to advance this campaign, and I am very encouraged by the fact that we have been able to get international recognition of this problem.
International recognition for this scourge that is Islamophobia was extremely important and pertinent, and Pakistan's role and your role, Munir Akram Sahab, yourself at the United Nations has been quite exemplary, and we all again would like to congratulate you and Pakistan for having been behind this important resolution on Islamophobia. Thank you very much, Munir Akram Sahab, to have joined us and to have given us the time to talk about this very important scourge that is engulfing the entire world and has already engulfed it, and that is Islamophobia. I'd like to conclude with this unnerving reality that is Islamophobia, that has put the world into two different hubs, one that understands Islam and one that doesn't, one that wants to move along with the Islamic community and one that does not. It is time for the entire world to understand the negative perceptions that have been put forward by certain elements, certain communities, and to thwart such attempts and to move forward as one. Interfaith dialogue, interfaith harmony is the need of the hour, whether it be between the different sects themselves in different religions or whether it be between different religions. In both its violence and rhetoric, that is what Islamophobia has done. It has led to the loss of so many lives, the loss of perception of each other and the loss of understanding. It's time that we as a nation as a world, as a community, move together as one in order to understand each other. And for that, we need to get rid of this scourge, that is Islamophobia. Omar, Khalid bids you farewell from this important transmission of Newsroom on Islamophobia. And we'd again like to congratulate all our Pakistani viewers and, of course, our government as well as Munir Akram Saab for being behind this important resolution on Islamophobia. Allah Hafiz.